Hi, I'm Grace McDermott, and this is my PHL 220 final project. So, this project is going to consist of me interviewing some of the girls that I currently live with. I'm a member of Chi Omega, which is a sorority here at MSU, and I currently live in our sorority house with over 40 other girls. I wanted to focus specifically on the topic of anxiety for this project, just because it is one of the themes that stuck out to me the most out of all the units we learned about, because I feel as though I can relate to it the most, and I also know of so many of the girls around me who struggle with anxiety and are affected by it in their day-to-day lives. So I wanted to use this project as an opportunity to hear what they have to say about it, how it affects them, and I'm going to be asking them about how living in a house with 40 other girls affects their anxiety, how being on a college campus and just being a college student in general affects their anxiety, as well as how does being in Greek life affect their anxiety. I just wanted to ask them some questions along those lines to see what they have to say. And I wanted to look at my age group being in Greek life and that culture, as well as just the college culture in general, goes hand in hand with anxiety and how that affects it. I thought it would be just an interesting way to dive into this topic because it is so prominent in my life right now and is very, representative of everyone that I'm surrounded with for the most part. Because I live with all these people and I'm with them day to day, and I know that anxiety is a very big and important thing, and I know that they can all relate to it. So I just thought this would be an interesting take on the topic. So let's dive into the interviews. Hi, this is my roommate, Abby, living in the house with me right now. So I'm going to be asking her how living with 40 other people in the house affects your anxiety, how living on a college campus and being in college in general affects your anxiety, as well as being in Greek life. What do you think?
I think living in the house can be extremely stressful at times. I remember when Grace and I were moving in on move-in day, it was like very filled with parents and girls just trying to move in furniture, and I remember being very anxious about it, wondering what this year would look like with that many people, because I mean in my past I'm only used to living with one other person. So that was definitely a big adjustment that I was anxious about. I also think throughout the year I've learned to find different places in the house or maybe going to the library, because it gets overwhelming when there's so many people here and you need to get work done or just be by yourself for some time. I think college as a whole has been very anxious. I think it's just a big step from being in high school to going to college, walking in classes, being on a big campus surrounded by so many people. And we had COVID in high school, so we weren't used to a lot of in-person exams. Most of our junior and some of our senior year was online, so we didn't have in-person paper tests. And so my freshman year, that was another thing that I was anxious about, was just learning to study the right materials. Organizing my notes was a big thing, and I didn't do very well on the beginning test because I was still figuring out how to do that myself. And I'm not a great test taker, so being surrounded by people in a big lecture hall while taking a test can be a really anxious thing for me. And I think Greek life as a whole can be anxious for people who already have anxiety. It's very hard sometimes to go out and have to talk to so many people. And for us, we go through recruitment for 5 days, and we talk to so many girls each day about different conversations, and you have to learn how to bring up certain topics, keep the conversations going. So I think that's another thing that has made me pretty anxious.
So according to existentialists, they say that anxiety has the potential to make things clear. Would you agree with that in any way, that of the things you just talked about, being anxious about those things, has it brought any things up where for example, studying made you clearly figure out how to study a certain way, or I don't know, any of those topics? Has it made things clear or helped you figure things out?
Yeah, definitely. I think that learning how to cope with anxiety rather than hiding from it has honestly been one of the biggest adjustments so far. As for the house, I've learned to find certain people who make me less anxious and surround myself by those people, not only in the house but in other situations too that I'm in. and I've learned how to like take a test better and organize my notes and stuff to be less anxious when it comes to test day because I'm more prepared for it. So I would say yes, it definitely has.
Great. Thank you, Abby. This is Keller. She also lives in the house with me. So I'm going to be asking you how living in the house with so many girls affects your anxiety, how living on a college campus and being a student in general affects your anxiety, and then also how being a part of Greek life affects you.
So I think that living in the house affects my anxiety positively because I always have like someone to go to. I constantly am surrounded by girls and people that want to comfort me. As far as Greek life goes, there's definitely like a lot of pressures that go along with it, like constantly being pressured, to go out or like get involved and do other things. And I'm the type person where I'd like to think I'm an introverted extrovert, so like I like to go out and like I'm very outgoing, but I also like to protect my peace and have my alone time. So sometimes when there's like a lot of events going on, I get like anxiety because I'm like, oh, like I feel like I should be going to that, or like I have to go to that, but also I like to just like relax and have my alone time and like recharge after I've like drained my social battery. But then of course also being on a college campus, there's a lot of anxiety that comes from classes, and of course like putting myself on a higher pedestal and wanting to like strive for perfection and my grades, so there's that whole kind of thing. But yeah.
Great answers. So next, existentialists believe that anxiety is revelatory, meaning like it reveals something about who you are, which is necessary to live like authentically, blah, blah, blah. So would you agree that anxiety is revelatory in the way like that you learn things about yourself through your anxiety?
I think it could be both. I mean, I think like for me, I know it depends on the situation. Like if I'm having like social anxiety or like anxiety about like the weekend ahead, I know sometimes when there's a lot of big events, I get anxious before it. And when that kind of thing happens, then I really want to be surrounded by my friends and like they can constantly help me, whether that's just like sitting with me or like something as little as giving me a hug or like words of affirmation. That really helps me out. But if it's like test anxiety or like worrying about a test, I kind of like to just then like devote my time to my work, and like I'm so focused in on it that I just like want to be alone. So I think it depends on the situation.
That makes sense. Got it. Thanks, Keller.
Yeah.
This is Emily, another friend of mine who lives in the
Hello.
house. So Emily, so how does living with 40 plus girls affect your anxiety? How does living on a college campus and being a student affect your anxiety? And also, how does being a part of Greek life affect your anxiety?
I think it can go either way with both things. Like either it can be a really positive thing or a negative thing. As for living with all the girls, sometimes I'll be in like an anxious mood, like kind of just needing to be around people. And then other times I'll be in an anxious mood, not wanting to be around anyone. So that can be a little difficult when you're living with like 40 something girls. But on the flip side, when you're not really feeling well and you like just want to be around your friends, that's great. Can always do that. And as for living on a college campus, I think, it feels like everyone's really like in the same boat a lot of the time. So that you can really feel like connected with people and not as anxious, because then you learn that everybody else is kind of going through the same emotions and feeling a lot of the same things. And you meet older people that have like been in your position. But again, like you can just always feel a little flustered and just like anxious and upset about some things where you feel like no one can really understand. And as for Greek life, I think like since Michigan State is so big, it kind of makes it like smaller for us living in like having Greek life. So that's kind of nice because you don't get too lost in the crowd and you kind of know everyone.
Great, love it. And then one more question. Existentialists think that anxiety has the potential to like help you create yourself or like figure out who you are. Would you agree with that? Do you think your anxiety is done
I
that for
think
you?
so. I think so, honestly, because I think I am like, I don't know, I'm a little bit of a nervous person, so I think like I am who I am because of that. I'm like, oh wait, what was that? Or like I'll be like not feeling safe somewhere or something like that. So I feel like it has really like developed my personality in some way, and like I have different personality traits because of my anxiety.
That makes sense. Thanks so much.
Yep.
Hi, so this is Laura, also one of my roommates in the house. So, Laura, how does living in a house of 40 plus girls affect your anxiety? How does living on a college campus and being a college student affect it? And then also, how does being a part of Greek life affect your anxiety?
So I feel like for living in a house with 40 plus girls, it definitely has a positive impact on my anxiety because there's just so many people here. And like, if I ever need anything or I'm feeling anxious or negative or like anything's going on that's kind of stressing me out, I have so many girls that I can go to, and all my friends are in one place. So it's just like, I don't know, it has a very homey feel. And then for how Greek life affects my anxiety, I would say that's a little bit more in a negative way because there's just a lot of pressures to be doing things, and like social pressures, and that combined with school can kind of be a lot. So I definitely have times where it's like, do I stay in? Do I go to this event? Like, just depending on what the situation is. But I would say that adds to my anxiety and has like more of a negative impact. And then the college campus in general, that's kind of a mix of the two, I would say, because being a student and like being obviously in college with everyone else, like you have the academic pressure of trying to have perfect grades and like figure out your major, what you're going to do for your career, all of that kind of stuff. So that definitely like adds to anxiety, but at the same time, being on a college campus and living on campus, being around everyone else, specifically ours, because we have like a really homey feel to ours, can kind of like ease anxiety sometimes, like being in that kind of community. So I think that's kind of a mix of both.
Totally agree. Thank you. And then next, so existentialists think that anxiety has a potential to make things clear, and that it like reveals something about who you are, can help clear up how you feel about certain situations, how you react to things, that sort of thing. Would you agree that anxiety helps reveal things about who you are and can make things clear in your mind?
I would say that's like yes and no for me. I think sometimes in the moment when you're having anxiety, like the thoughts can be so far from reality that it doesn't really give you a clear sense of yourself or what's going on in the situation, and you're kind of thinking like irrationally, depending on how, I guess, extreme the anxiety is. But in day-to-day things, like small things that make me anxious, I would say like once you take a step back from it and you realize like, oh, this specific thing made me feel a certain way, that definitely gives you a better sense of yourself and a better sense of like what you value maybe, or like things in friendships or relationships that you don't like, or that kind of thing. So I feel like it's situational. Maybe like not during the actual anxiety, that's when I get the most clarity and I can sit back and be like, wait, why did I feel that specific way? But during it, sometimes it gets like a little bit irrational, like I said, and that would not, I guess, give you the best sense of self.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Hi, so this is Tressa, another one of my friends who lives in the house with me. So, Tressa, how does living in a house with 40 plus girls affect your anxiety? How does living on a college campus and being a college student in general affect your anxiety? And then also, how does being in Greek life affect it?
I think living in a house with over 40 girls affects my anxiety just because there's so many different personalities, and like every girl lives a different lifestyle and like lives a different way. Some are clean and some aren't, so that kind of gives me anxiety. But other than that, it's nice because you always have a friend.
Makes sense. What about being in college and being a student here on campus?
I think classes can get a little overwhelming, especially with like deadlines and having so many at one time. But yeah, and finding an internship too when like all your friends have one and you don't can kind of make you feel like nervous, I guess.
And then what about Greek life?
Meeting new people. Like there's so many people in Greek life, so you're constantly meeting a new person every single year. And everybody having different personalities as well can get a little bit anxious, but it's also a really good life skill to have, which teaches you a lot on how to talk to certain people.
I agree. So existentialists think that anxiety can help you to like create yourself, create who you are, and yeah, it can help you do that if you choose to use it that way. Would you agree that anxiety can help you learn new things about yourself?
Yeah, definitely, because it can show you what you're comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with. So if you're in uncomfortable situations and it gives you anxiety, then next time you probably shouldn't go to that situation or get yourself involved in that.
I agree. Okay, thanks, Tressa.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to include those 5 interviews of some of my roommates. There's a ton of us living in this house. There's over 40 of us, but as I was going through more interviews, I decided 5 would probably be a good number just for timing wise, and there's a lot of similarities in a lot of the answers just because we're kind of in a similar boat, living together and a part of the Greek community, so there's a lot of similarities with that. But all in all, I really enjoyed hearing what they had to say and hearing their answers to those questions. And then I also didn't say this in my introduction video, but I decided to tie in a little bit about what existentialists thought about anxiety and their viewpoints of it at the end of each interview, just to kind of see what my friends and roommates had to say about that as well, and kind of give them a little different perspective about anxiety, because I know I did not think about anxiety in a way that it's revelatory or that you can learn from your anxiety about yourself. I just never really thought about it in that way until this class, and then now it has completely like changed my viewpoint on it, and it's honestly allowed me to like reflect and learn a lot about myself. So I just wanted to tie in those questions to the end of their interviews to see what they thought about it, so I enjoyed that. And I also wanted to just quickly answer the questions for myself too, just to compare with their answers. So starting off, living in the house with so many girls, my anxiety definitely has been both positive and negative. I think it has helped me learn about myself that I don't do as well when I'm alone and anxious. I do much better when I'm with my friends and like with other people that are close to me. I like to be surrounded by others and talk about it out loud, rather than just be alone to think about my anxiety or like whatever's going on in that situation. So being in the house has definitely helped that, obviously, because I'm with so many girls that I've gotten to know, so there's always someone to help me through certain situations. But I also just think it's interesting to like reflect and look back on my anxiety. Although maybe in those moments it wasn't fun to be feeling anxious about a certain thing, it did teach me a lot. It taught me that when I'm feeling that way, I can just go to my friends and communicate, talk about it out loud, and then that helps me, solve the problem a lot faster. So I wouldn't have known that about myself, or maybe just not fully realized it as well if it weren't for that. But anyway, negatively, I would say it makes sometimes decisions hard regarding like hanging out with my friends and watching a movie or doing homework. That's been one thing, just because there's always so much going on, and like I said, I'm someone who always likes to be around people, so I like to be a part of the action. But then that kind of brings the anxiety of having to make that decision. Should I be responsible? Should I chit chat with my friends and kind of waste time? And like we've learned in this class, anxiety is a clue that we need to make those decisions, and so that's come up a lot this year too for me. But continuing, for a college student perspective wise, I would say I get anxiety kind of similar to what I was just talking about, but is making that decision of studying this amount, holding myself accountable to putting school first, and just because I'm living on my own, everything is up to me, making decisions, being responsible, making sure I go to class instead of sleeping in, making sure I study for my exam that's in a few days instead of going out with my friends. So that's something that makes me a little anxious at times, but has also helped me learn things about how I study better, how I need to time manage, just lots of different things in my life. And so, although it's not always fun to be stressed or anxious, it, again, like existentialists believe that it's revelatory. I completely agree with that. It's revealed so much, especially this year in general, as my classes are getting harder and I just have more to like balance and manage. I've been learning a lot about how to just go about my day-to-day work and that sort of thing. So, but continuing for the Greek community aspect of it, Greek life in general, I can't say gives me a lot of anxiety, but the only thing I will say is kind of similar to what I was touching on in the beginning is making the decisions of staying in or going to this event. Greek life is a great community that has made Michigan State a lot smaller for me and allowed me to find a lot of great friends. But it's also very active and there's lots of stuff always going on to participate in, which is great. But it's not all really school related or at all school related. And so balancing that sort of thing and just balancing all the different events that we have can give me anxiety at times, but it's also helped me figure out the type of friends that I like to have, the type of people I like to be around, because there are so many different types of people within this community. That's one thing that I've learned is who I feel my best around, who I feel more anxious around, and that sort of thing. So that has been something interesting that I've learned about and has been a great experience meeting some of my best friends through that community. And I also thought it was interesting because I feel like most people wouldn't really think to ask questions about anxiety regarding Greek life here at Michigan State, but for me, that's the community that I'm a part of, that I'm living in right now. And so when I was thinking about different options for this project, and I knew that I wanted to do anxiety as the one theme that I focused on from this class, but I was trying to think about different communities that I could specify for this project, and I thought, why not do Greek life, just because it's a Michigan State thing, and because I'm living in it and I'm a part of it, like I said. So I really enjoyed interviewing my roommates and kind of tying those two topics together, because I feel like that's just not really something someone would think to do. But yeah, in general, I really enjoyed this project and getting to learn more about anxiety. And I was talking with my roommates and my friends as I was doing this and getting to share with them what I've learned from this class about not just anxiety, but all topics in general. Just so many new perspectives that I would never have had if it weren't for this class. Specifically anxiety, I view it so differently now, which is just so interesting to me, but also just all the themes in general. This is my first philosophy class I've ever taken, and I did not really know exactly what I was going to be learning or what I was going to be getting into, but I've enjoyed it so much. And so I just wanted to say thank you, one, for making it through and watching my project, watching this video and listening to what I have to say about it, but also thank you to this class and my professor and just the material in general, because it's been super interesting. I've learned so much, not only about myself, but just about different perspectives and viewpoints of life. And yeah, I've really enjoyed it, and I hope to take another class like this if I can next semester here at State. And also it's been great getting to share it with those around me. I think that a class like this would be a great class to be required for everyone, just because as I was talking about it with my friends, they were intrigued. People ask me all the time when they saw in the house when I was reading my book for this class, what I was reading, and I would share little bits with them, and I think it's just something that a lot of people could learn a lot from. So anyways, I just wanted to say thank you, and I've super enjoyed this class. It's been great. It's been a great semester, and yeah, I had a lot of fun doing this project. I hope you enjoyed just hearing some of the answers about what people had to say about it, and myself included. So thank you so much. Bye.